Welcome to Coffee with Kyla. We have our guest here today, Pauline, who is President and CEO of Ohio Life Sciences. Welcome.
Thanks, Kyla. Appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today.
Well, we are excited to hear more about Ohio Life Sciences and a little bit about our community. But just to start, what is Ohio Life Sciences for our viewers that might not know what your organization is, and how did it come to be?
Sure. Yeah, it's fun to answer this question because it gives me an opportunity not only to introduce the organization, but also acknowledge that the industry as a whole is still sort of new to a lot of people. So Ohio Life Sciences is the trade association for Ohio's life science industry. So life sciences are pharmaceuticals, medical devices, digital health, laboratories. Our membership includes research institutions, universities, hospital systems. So it's a pretty diverse industry, but our members are all doing things that are helping create a better quality of life for people, keep people healthy, cure people from conditions that many of us don't want and are trying to get over. So it's a really exciting time in biotech, and our group is doing the work we need to do to draw more attention to it and ensure that the industry as a whole has a good opportunity to grow here in Ohio.
And how did that organization get formed? Was there a need to kind of bring all of these organizations together? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting history. We've been around for almost 4 decades in some form or another. The actual kind of first instance of Ohio Life Sciences emerged from a state of Ohio funded program called the Thomas Edison program.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
I think Governor Rhodes created this initiative again nearly 40 years ago. And what the Thomas Edison program did was funded 6 or 7 what they called Thomas Edison centers. And these Edison centers were formed around a specific industry such as biotech, advanced manufacturing, polymers. And these centers were charged with sort of stimulating economic activity within those industries. We were called the Edison Biotech Center. As the organization did its work, it had a couple brand changes along the way. I think from Edison Bio, it turned into something called Omeris for a time period. From Omeris, it turned into Bio Ohio. And then recently, actually last November, we did a restructure and a rebrand from Bio Ohio into Ohio Life Sciences. This is the first iteration of the organization that really took on the responsibility and wanted to behave more like a trade association. For a long time, we were in essence, sort of I don't want to say a government entity, but a nonprofit that did, membership engagement work. And our board, knowing that the industry across the state was growing, knowing that the industry had some specific needs and challenges around workforce, funding, infrastructure. our board said, we really need an association to better represent the interest of this industry at the State House and just collectively across the state of Ohio. So, they made a pretty intentional decision to shift the focus from a kind of a membership organization to a trade association. So what that meant for us is we set up a new entity. We're a 501c6 now, for those in the audience that that know the difference between a 501c6 and a 501c3. We maintained our C3 as a foundation. So in essence, we just have a structure now that's more typical of a trade association. The biggest difference is that entity, that new entity, will allow us to invest more in some advocacy and lobbying work, which is really important as we try to influence good public policy for the life science industry here.
Okay, so I have two questions to tap into some things you just said. So 40 years is quite a long time, and it sounds like the evolution of the industry your organization has responded to that. Why do you think this industry is growing so much in Ohio specifically?
And I've said this often over my last year and a half of being in this role. The real engine of this industry is our network of research institutions across the state, both at universities and within hospitals. So these organizations are developing really innovative new treatments for rare and chronic conditions. New innovations on the medical device side of things. Doctors who are and surgeons who are working with something and constantly figuring out how things can be improved. These organizations have hired brilliant people at an increased rate, and all of this has led to a lot of life science innovation, a lot of biotech innovation emerging from these institutions. That tech is then creating a bigger opportunity for startups. Some of this tech obviously is licensed to out of town companies who invest in Ohio as they try to grow the tech here. So those institutions and the good work that they're doing on the R&D side have really led to the growth of this industry.
So I have a couple more to tap into. Is Columbus also the educational organizations that we have in this area in central Ohio and Ohio in general, a workforce or an educational force that we have talent here that can kind of feed into those organizations then as well?
Yeah, there's a couple good things going on there and a couple challenges. I mean, Ohio State is obviously, doing its part to pump out a lot of great STEM talent. I think if you look at, the 11,000 degrees, kind of life science related degrees that emerge from our state every year, most of them are coming out of Ohio State, which is great. So there's clearly a critical mass of talent coming from that institution. We hope that more institutions can sort of join that effort. Because really the pace, the growth of the industry, frankly, is growing, is outpacing the available talent right now. So, when we start thinking about what we can do as the association to address some of the workforce challenges, we're kind of thinking about it in three different ways. One is to create much more exposure to the industry for our K through 12 population, making sure that young people know what the industry is, that they could have a lucrative career within the industry. Two, it's helping people that are currently working maybe in another industry through some upskilling, reskilling, new credentials, new certificates. Could they pivot into the life sciences? And then the third piece of that, of course, is how do we recruit talent from other states to get to Columbus, to get to Ohio, to take advantage of some of the opportunities here.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that advocacy, you talked about exposure to the K-12, the upscale pivot and recruiting from out of state. Is that part of your advocacy program or initiatives? And then how does that tie into your lobbying?
Yeah, I think, we look at advocacy and, in essence, it's educating state leadership, elected officials about the industry.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily call that lobbying.
Yeah.
There are there's an opportunity to help the state understand that, with strategic investment in certain programs, in new initiatives that have a focus of biotech, the industry could have an even bigger economic impact on Ohio. If state leaders, we for example have there's a void in wet lab space in central Ohio and really throughout the state. So as a new technology comes out of Nationwide Children's Hospital, for example, if that if the leadership there needs, I don't know, if an entrepreneur needs, a couple bench tops, 2,000, 2,500, 5,000 square feet of wet lab space, it's not existent. So we need to help our state understand that, we need to incentivize the development of that type of space here if we want to create this sticky environment.
Right.
So again, more of an education. When it comes to the lobbying, there are certain policies that we know could have a positive or negative impact on the industry. There's some state legislation, for example, last year that we took on, and we're wanting to help influence was around biomarker testing. Mandating that the state reimburse for biomarker tests. These tests would help ensure that you have a more efficient diagnosis. So, a physician, if you take biomarker tests, they know sort of instantly what the issue is and can prescribe the right medicine at the right time. But again, those biomarker tests right now in Ohio are not always reimbursed, so they're expensive. Right. And so we take on issues like that. Ohio does not have a matching program for an SBIR grant. So the federal government awards an entrepreneur an SBIR grant. If that individual was in Kentucky, they could potentially get a matching grant from the state that would obviously double up their money. Ohio doesn't have that. So that's one thing that our organization could see as very helpful to encourage even more innovation here. So and that again, part of it's education, part of it is okay, we actually need to lobby and we need to build a PAC and write a check and all that kind of stuff. So those are things we think about.
When you were describing Ohio Life Sciences and the move into more of a trade association, you just described the perfect scenario of how that can all come together with an entrepreneur, a researcher, or an inventor coming up with this idea, but then you also need a real estate community and development community to create that lab space. And then you also need the funding from the state or the federal government, and to have this space, which you have created with Ohio Life Sciences, for all of those industries to connect and kind of team up to solve this really basic solution of making human lives better. is really powerful. So that leads me into my next question. What kind of future do you see for the life science segment in Columbus and Central Ohio?
It's going to continue to be it's going to continue to become healthier and healthier. I think that the leaders in this region recognize the opportunity we have to position not only Columbus but the broader state
Yeah.
as a health and life science leader. All of the anchor institutions that have invested in the innovation districts across the state are all, they all have a health and life science theme to them. So with that type of investment and focus, I think, again, we as the association are very optimistic that this industry is going to continue to grow. And again, I think, 10, 20 years out, I believe when people think about new economic themes, biotech will certainly be one of them. And I think Ohio's well prepared to be a leader within that.
That's fantastic. Well, LOTH loves Columbus for the reasons you just described, all of the potential and the recognition and folks like you in our community that are helping bridge all of those pieces together. Eddie, why do you love Columbus?
Well, I love Ohio too.
Ohio.
Be careful here.
Let's get broader.
All our cities are special. I do. I know Columbus best. I'm here. I worked for. I went to school at Ohio State. I worked at Ohio State for almost 12 years. So I certainly have a love and passion for Central Ohio. I think what I love about it is the collaborative spirit, the eagerness to sort of position this city is a leading city in America. There's a lot of people that are working really hard to make that happen.
Yeah.
There's this sort of there's an interesting blend of like Midwestern modesty plus like some pent up frustration about why can't we be there yet?
Yeah.
And I just hope that we maintain that modesty, but also develop a comfort with bragging a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's every Midwestern city is talking about quality of life and affordability. So, and that's awesome. But like, and we go down that road sometimes too. But it's like, what is unique? About this region that the others don't have? And I think if you start running down that list, we can develop a stronger narrative about why people should be here and work and raise a family here. So you talk about the institutions, you talk about the investment, you talk about the I'll call it accessibility. I mean, this is such a people here don't have a big ego. You can get meetings with really important people pretty easily, and I think that just gives us a little bit of an edge when it comes to some other places around the country.
That was one of my favorite responses. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Eddie, thank you for your time and sharing your story and more about Ohio Life Sciences. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a guest.
Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.